Hello everyone, Kentu Tiger here with Bengali Engineering and Play. We are back in Space Engineers. We're continuing on in what I hope is going to be a basic survival tutorial. Now, we've done some testing, we've had some crashes, so we did a bit of playing around, trying to determine the cause of that crash, which is really to say, was this some kind of a conflict with one of the mods? Never really determined what it was. So, where we're at is we have sat down to build. We have endeavored to build a large scale miner, or rather a medium scale is what I'm calling this miner, to do some mining. Now. In the last episode, we were pretty much building components. Now, one of the things I did off camera here was to actually put in the maneuvering thrusters. And to show you what I did here, I built those groups for the thrusters themselves. And then these remaining thrusters here are actually my maneuvering thrusters. So we're going to call those try this again. Make sure it actually was there. Thrusters maneuvering. Save. And then turn these guys off. So we have thrusters main and thrusters maneuvering. All right, so let's go ahead and climb in here. So T. Now, one of the problems we have here is there is no ice in this unit. So the first thing we want to do is move away from the base without destroying everything. Okay, so originally I thought this was not going to be enough thrust, and apparently it is. So we are 1,413,000 kilograms, pretty heavy. Let's go ahead and get some items put onto the machine here. Now, I just noticed we're missing an antenna. So I need to put an antenna in. So toggle block on and off, H2O2 generator, we'll leave that off. Conveyor sorter, no real need to leave that off. Starboard side connector is a switch lock and an on-off. Now, why do I do that? These things, we call them a magnetic attraction, or at least Keen calls that a magnetic attraction. I don't know what to really call it. The most powerful electromagnet in the universe, because when they attract, it's great. When they turn off, when you first disconnect, then they're kind of in standby, and then they lock back up into this magnetic mode, and it is virtually impossible to get away. So what I do is do a lock unlock and then an off, or a way to turn it on and off. And we'll do the same thing on the port side here. So we have our switch lock, and then we have our on off. Lock on and off. All right, groups. We have drills. It's a miner, so we need some drills, right? Thrusters main, we're going to turn those on and off. What else do I need here? Block on and off. So these are thrusters main, and I guess I'll go ahead and put those there. Not really too many reasons to do that. Drills, containers, batteries. Now normally I would put a recharge on the batteries, but because they're constantly in that recharge cycle when there's power available, I don't really need to do that anymore. In fact, if you look at the indicators on the batteries, you can see them cycling from 100% down to 99, back up to 100%. And that's because the reactors are available and working. Having said all that, let's go ahead and put our antenna on, because that's a pretty important thing. We just have to figure out where. Originally I kind of wanted to put that in the center, but maybe we can actually put it here. G, we'll grab the antenna here. We're done with gyros. At least I think we're done with gyros. And we'll see what this looks like. I'm going to go ahead and turn that over. Try again. And there. All right. The antenna. Okay, let's try one more time. Okay. The antenna. And this is medium minor. We'll call this a 49 drill. In fact, in our control panel, let's go ahead and just call this a medium minor. I don't think we need the numbers there. Okay, I'm going to run this out to 50,000 because it's what I tend to like doing. All right, I'm going to select everything, and the reason I want to select everything is I want to verify that this actually does belong to me. For whatever reason, those are not all independently shared with my faction, which I don't know why that is. But now they are. Alright, so we have connectors port and starboard, and we have the antenna. Port and starboard connectors, we do want those on the toolbar. We have already put them on the cockpit toolbar, but we're going to go ahead and dump those into systems miscellaneous and then turn them off on the terminal. All right. So there are convenience things that we could add here. So what I want to do is really test here. That's interesting. For whatever reason, those are still trying to do something. All right, so if theory holds, so there is the starboard side, the dorsal side, ventral and port. Those are the backwards and forward. All right, so what I do not know, this is empty, but do I have enough thrust to actually move? And the answer is yes. which is a good thing. There's the forward, the backwards. All right, so those are the maneuvering thrusters, which, granted, right now this is empty, which is a good thing. Empty, empty. So we're going to turn on the thrusters again. The other thing we want to do is swivel around, and I just want to make sure that this drill bank is actually working, which it is. Okay. So we have built what appears to be a complete miner. Now, it's not the most glamorous thing, and this is maneuvering with the gyros. So while not the most peppy as it was before, it is still plenty sufficient enough for us to maneuver around. All right, so having said that, we're going to come over to the asteroid here. I think created this hole here, which is just about at the reticle. And make sure we can stop. So one of the things I'm going to do, we're seeing one of the things I want to do is line up on the marker. The marker is at the center of this thing. So what I want to do is kind of so I was really off on that whole thing. So what I'm going to do here is try and line up at least on the initial hole. And then realign on our marker, and then move forward to line up with the asteroid. Alright, so pretty much lined up. Let's do a last check to get ourselves semi-aligned. Line up for the rules, even though you can see the whole thing shaking, even though we've got shaking turned off. So go figure. Have a button. Make sure it works. Now, auxiliary functions that may or may not be useful depending on what you're doing are things like cameras. And in this case, because the entire front of this ship is drills, then it is a little more difficult to have any kind of camera. Now, certainly we could do the up and down, the side to side cameras, but that forward camera is a little bit difficult from the perspective of we don't have any place to mount it. Okay, I am seeing something here that is intriguing. The drills are almost back to their original width. Um, so you could actually put a gap between two drills and it would apparently knock out everything in between, which is actually really cool. Okay, so one of the things you can see here is this drill, this miner, because it's so much larger, is actually a lot more stable. And what I mean by stable is I can move forward more slowly, and it doesn't ram in and then shift. So I'm kind of bouncing off the front, it looks like. So let's just, for interesting sake, so you can see that these drills are taking in material. Obviously I'm into iron now, but let's look at the container. So this is the large forward, which everything is pushing into this container, which is almost full. Oops. So the question is, will it push all the way back? One of the problems I discovered a little while ago, and not just me, but a lot of different folks have found this same problem, was if you have a single source of stuff, putting into a container, when that container is full, you can no longer push stuff, even though that container may be connected to something else. So we're going to test that here. We may have to change our fundamental design here to put a manifold in, so this pulling mechanism from the drills actually goes to all of the containers. That way when one of the containers fills up, I'm not limited. In looking at that, let's continue on. We're just getting into the ice there. I'm going to go ahead and turn off my mains. Give me a slight bit more control. Alright, so theoretically, given how close we were, I'm going to go back into inventory, back into containers. Alright, so that front container is full, and it is indeed pushing through that container into the second container, which is good. So we have overcome this problem of, if the first container fills up and you don't have an alternate path, which is to say you don't have a conveyor system, then that used to be a problem. So I'm glad it's not anymore. This is good. Now the one thing this miner does not have, which may or may not turn out to be a problem, is a means to get rid of rock, for one. Rock is somewhat non-useful. And what I mean by that is there's very few components that actually use gravel. And because of that, reactor reactor components are one of the things that need gravel. Why reactor components need gravel, I don't know, but they do. So that's one of the strange things that all right, here's generator. There's a reason I'm stealing the ice, is because with the unit stealing the ice, there's no way to get ice into there other than having it steal it. Although that should be feeding off the back, so let me do, so this is off the container, yeah, so it will, okay, never mind. So we actually have a lot of stone here, which is taking up an incredible amount of space. So the other thing that I wanted to accomplish at some point, and let me go ahead and for right now I'm going to back off. I'm going to turn the drills off, and then I'm going to come out of the cockpit. One of the things I want to do here is put in a mechanism to pull out how do I want to do this? Alright, so I need two things. A small cargo container. I'm done with batteries. I'm done with connectors. I'm done with thrusters. I'm done with large. And I'm done with the small reactor. So let's go ahead and get rid of all that. Paycas over here created this cargo teleporter. Neat, nifty device. So I'm going to put a small cargo container here, and I'm yeah, why not? I'll go ahead and put it up right here. 8. So here's this device. Now, oops. Well, one of the problems is I'm not going to be able to configure this because I don't have any materials in my inventory. I don't think I have enough. Alright, so the good news here is that this will eventually have I should have built that before I left. Back in here, we're going to turn the drills back on. Okay, sorry about that strange pause. I bought a tablet the other day that I liked it. So let me get everything in motion here, so we can see what's going on. So my drills are on, and we're gonna get back up here. I can see, I think, see things happening. So I travel around the world, and I travel around the world really at the behest of the U.S. Navy, and I'm a shipboard engineer, so I very frequently travel to the ships. And part of the traveling, of course, is bouncing around in hotel rooms and that sort of thing. And I've run into a couple times. Now, most hotels have pretty good internet. But one of the things I've noticed is not all of them do. So I recently invested in a data sim, and decided I would venture into the international data sims and see how things work. And one of the things I discovered was there are international versions of different products. And I know that kind of sounds like a duh, no shit statement, but a lot of the American carriers, oddly enough, when they lock down their devices to their networks, they completely lock them down. So when I buy things like tablets or something that aren't directly associated with a carrier, I root them. And the reason I root them is because all of these devices come with an inordinate amount of just gibberish that I'm sure somebody somewhere will use it, but it's stuff that I absolutely don't need on my device. And so I root it because you can't get rid of it otherwise. So when I root the device, I have complete access to do whatever I want, up to and including breaking the device, which I've done quite a few times actually. And figuring out what stuff I want to get rid of off the device, I have actually broken my devices several times. And what I mean by broken is they no longer boot. So what I usually have to do is go back through, reload the base software load, the base firmware load, and then reroute it. And it's entertaining from the perspective of, oh wow, I broke it. I learned something. I guess I shouldn't do that. And then really being able to fix things when I'm done breaking them is another challenge. So it was entertaining. Anyway, the long story short is I bought a unit that was claimed to be unlocked. It happened to be a Samsung 8-inch Galaxy Tab E Echo. And one of the things I discovered about the Tab E was designed and built for an American carrier by the name of AT&T. If you have not heard of AT&T, they are a very large company. And I'm noticing that they completely lock down their device to the point I couldn't root it. It was a good price for an unlocked device. But when I discovered I could not root the device, that was very disappointing. And then I used an international data sim and discovered the phone function on it did not work. It was completely and exclusively tied to AT&T. So if you could not access the AT&T network, you could not use the phone functionality on the tablet. I liked the device because I like Samsung, but the fact that I really couldn't do anything on a device that I own, I don't play that game. That's one of my largest scale complaints with Microsoft, is Microsoft tries to lock down your machine to the point where there's a lot of things you cannot do. So this nagging about you don't have permissions to that, don't play that game. This is my machine. I bought a license to use your software. That does not give you permission to take over my goddamn machine. So I have a real problem with an operating system telling me I can't do that. That does not make me happy at all. Let me check my containers. So I am now filling the third container, and that one is where it is because... Alright, so one of the... oh, darn. One of the things that I really wish for, so I'm going to do a T to come out of the cockpit, and the reason I want to do that, oh boy, this may be a problem. I may not be able to get out of here. Oh, just barely. All right. So I have these two devices here. Need to make sure I have Space Master turned off, which I do. Nine, and I'm going to right click, and then I'm going to do an 8 and also right click. Okay, successfully withdrew all items to build those two items. Now, why is that important? It's because I'm so far away from the build and repair system that I'm not able to take advantage of this. So what I want to do is come back in. Let's see what we can do here. So 8. All right. I may have to do that. So 8, which is my container. So let's weld up this container. We're going to do a K. This container is actually called cargo transmit. There's a method to the madness. 8. So this is a cargo teleporter. Number 1, welder, and we want to weld this guy up. All right. Now, okay, so I want to configure this. The cargo teleporter, in this case, we need to use the bracket there. We are transmitting, which is a T, and we are transmitting to a container named elsewhere. receiver. Had to remember there. And another brace. So elsewhere is that name is copyright Bethesda Softworks, I think is their name, which is the homeland of the Khajiit. There's a whole story behind that. So all of those Khajiit obviously also copyright to Bethesda there. All right, so the idea behind this is this device is going to pull materials out of this container and transmit it back to the station. Okay, so it's turned on. It is draining all, and we are blacklist none, meaning everything. Okay, so everything this pulls in is going to go. So let's go ahead and look. Obviously, we're pulling a whole lot of stuff in here, and for some reason, it's not transmitting out. But let's look at containers. Doing anything there? Might have a problem. Strange. Maybe I should reverse these. I don't know whether that's actually doing what it was intended to do or not. And I guess really the only way I'm going to know for sure is to watch my inventory. Alright, so let's continue on as if this is working. Very slowly. But the goal here, so if you see the blue indicator, you see a lot of, in fact, let me go ahead and turn that off, which gets rid of that. So you can see my antenna, the medium miner, and the marker. I'm 82 meters away from the marker. The marker is at the center of this asteroid. So once I reach nothing, 0 on that particular thing, then I know I will have reached the center of this asteroid. Now, if that cargo transmitter is not functioning, then okay, let me do. I want to make sure everything is functioning. Huh. Teleporter. Stuck doing nothing, which is really strange. And those should be changing and working, so we should be transmitting to the elsewhere receiver on the other side. Ah, that may be full. Alright, T again. Let's try and go out. Maybe not. We can get through here. Barely. Alright. So this is the elsewhere receiver. Owned by me, which should be going inventory. And it is almost full. These guys are still kind of rolling. Here's that, and gravel. Nothing coming in, so we still have an issue of some kind. I don't know what it is, but from cargo transmit, so that's correct. Elsewhere receiver, R-E-C-E-I-V-E-R, receiver. Nothing. So, successfully, alright. I may have to change my philosophy on this end, and basically pull using the teleporter into the container, and then have it push out from there. So we may have a strange issue here in how this does what it does. Problem is this has stuff in it, which, okay, so E-Y-R-R-E-C-E-I-V-E-R, so not sure why that cargo transmit. Makes absolutely no sense to me. Stuck, not doing anything. Alright, so this may be disastrous in that when I grind this down, we're going to have lots and lots of stuff that just appears here that may destroy things. So, I need cargo blocks. Let's go ahead and put this here. I actually need a conveyor junction here. Question is, do I want to go forward or backwards? And I think I want to go forward. So off, I need my grinder, 9, which I grind down this battery. Oh, damn it. That I didn't want to have happen. Alright. Not K, inventory. And that's already full. there and that there. All right. That free up, yeah, that freed up a bunch. Okay, so T, power T. I thought there was something else. All right. Having done that, we're back on number 2. So this is a junction. We want to put the sorter, or rather the cargo teleporter there, and then we will put the container here. All right, and we get our welder out again, which should be a number 8. Weld this guy up, weld that guy up, and weld this one. All right, so this is a passive device, so we want to configure this to transmit to this receiver. And this is called cargo transmit. We want to make sure everything is owned by me and shared, which it is. At this point we turn this to on, and hopefully something will start happening. So this guy should be receiving materials and transmitting materials, which it looks like it is. It's coming in and going somewhere. The only place it can go is away. So let's look at the teleporter. And magically the teleporter is working now. Don't know why that is, but magically it's working. So this is good news. Obviously these are not vanilla. The container is vanilla, the junction is vanilla, but obviously the cargo container or the cargo teleporter is not vanilla. Medium miner, which I did not save previously, so that was an oops on my part. All right, T, let's get back in the cockpit here and continue forward. Now that we have the mechanism in place to transmit the cargo, then we will slowly work our way towards the center of this guy, this large asteroid. And when our marker distance reaches 0, then we know we have gotten to the center. Now, there's good news and bad news. So that's the bad news, is that my camera is not doing things again. given 250 meters from side to side. We are approximately halfway. One of the things I wish that remote controls could actually like have cruise control, and you could program in like I want to maintain a quarter meter per second, but can't do that yet. Because in this kind of situation, I just set it, and then the thrusters would run to that particular limit. I noticed there's a mod, a script, that is a cruise control script, but the cruise control script actually is a launch script. So hydrogen, while very powerful, is also it gets consumed really quickly. So having some sort of a mechanism that dials it down as you're getting farther and farther out of the gravity well is pretty interesting. So I have not personally tried that one because I don't build a lot of orbital craft, or not anymore anyway. When I first started, I really focused on miners when I first started. And my miners tend to be annoyingly symmetrical, but that's again the engineering, the practical, rather than the pure creativity. So 48 meters to go to the center. When that reaches zero, and my marker distance reaches zero, then I know I will be halfway through. Alright, just for fun, let's see what taking so control panel, no, we did one inventory, and containers. So the good news is we have taken in all the material and transmitted it, which right now we appear to be pulling in everything. Everything that we pull in is going right to the transmitter, which is good. Meters left. One of the other things that we can do here is actually put on the constant thrusters, which will just keep that steady forward pressure on the drills. I did that on quite a few, so basically you wouldn't have to be punching the button at all. And I suppose we really could do that. let's have a look. Yep, platinum. Stop this infernal shaking that I already turned off. And this creates a reasonably straight hole, which is very nice. Through all the different materials, there's the old shaft that we created with a smaller miner. So you can see the differentials in the shaft size. A whole lot bigger here. So big hole, comparatively speaking. And up, and turn that off. Alright, so T to get back in the cockpit here. We're going to slowly back our way out. If all goes well, we will not bang into anything too terribly hard. Be the great time to have you know, the other option is to just drill our way through to the other side, but we'll do that later. Something else we can do at a later date. Oh darn. Well, that's kind of neat. Not sure why it's doing that. There's the ice and the iron, which means my jets are in the stone now. Not sure what that is. There we go, my camera just returned. Alright, having said that, we'll light off the mains. We will turn, actually let's not turn, let's get lined back up on the same hole here. T. Is that reasonably lined up still? Looks like mostly. All right. We'll go back over here, see how our refineries are keeping up, which they're not. It's not enough refinery. All right, so wow, there's a lot of gibberish in this. Oh, I guess not. Receiver. So the good news is we have everything in here. So all the different materials that we could possibly need are in here. It's just going to take time to refine it all. Large container, obviously there's a bunch that came through, a lot of iron, a lot of nickel, and cargo container 3, a bunch more, container 1. So, containers, wow. That container is full, full, full. That one's full, that one's full, that one's full. Wow, okay. So we have a little bit of problem. Which, if we look here, cargo capacity, 100%. So that's everything. Interesting. Huh, that one, let's go down to 7. A lot of ore all the way across the board, which is good. So platinum and silver are the only two, oh, and uranium, that are under 1 million. Platinum by quite a margin. The good news is you don't need a lot of platinum. You don't need a lot of gold. So having those two at very low levels, not a bad thing. All right, so what was this tutorial about? And I know I didn't babble like I normally do, but we built the miner pretty much from scratch, and then demonstrated the use. So was actually a pretty good thing. So having said all that, I think we'll call it good here. I'm right about at my hour mark, which is definitely a lot closer to the hour mark than I normally am. So this is Kenty Tiger signing off. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.